Okay, sports studies students. So this video is to explain an assessment task which is a little bit unique. It is the project that you will complete in stage 2. We haven't really completed an assessment task like this in sports studies in stage 1, other than say maybe the issues analysis for technology in sport. However, this assessment task essentially is the only task which gets externally moderated for each of you. For the remainder of the tasks, some of you will have your work selected for further moderation, but this task is worth 30% of your overall grade and yeah, will be externally marked. So, the purpose of this task is for you to explore an aspect of interest in physical activity or sport by investigating, analysing, and applying and communicating information about a personal project related to, like I said, health, physical education, or sport. So, you'll need to undertake a project about a specific sport studies topic related to health, PE, or sport that you are interested in. So you have quite a bit of freedom as to what topic you want to talk about. What you need to include in your information that demonstrates your learning about your chosen project. You should include, obviously, a range of different knowledge, concepts, and skills. You need to investigate and analyze concepts from multiple perspectives. You need to also make sure that you are sourcing reliable information and acknowledging that information correctly via correct referencing. You need to communicate your ideas and opinions, like I said, from a range of different sources, and discuss and justify your ideas and opinions. So it has to be based on reliable information. So you need to identify at least one key area of study that links to the project. So with regards to the capabilities, it can either be personal development and or learning. It can be both. But the second part of this assessment task requires you to make sure that you are able to show links between the topic that you've chosen to investigate and the capabilities. So whether it just be one or whether it be both, but I'll be able to help you with ideas on how your topic is linked to personal development and learning through your selection process on what topic you want to choose, but also when you get to that point after you've written out your project outcome. So your project can be research based or it can be based on a practical task as well. Students in the past have predominantly chosen to do it research based as a written report style assessment. But then there have been students who have also, for example, done some coaching. It's been necessary for them to have their coaching filmed and also still do some written components to it as well. You could choose to do yours as a presentation of some description, but both research-based projects and practical projects must be your own work. So downloaded excerpts from websites cannot be submitted and assessed as evidence of student learning in this subject. So your evidence submitted for the project should provide evidence of the specific features as outlined in the performance standards. So you need to try to make sure that you are addressing the performance standards for this task. So there's two parts to this assessment. The first is the project outcome, and this is the bulk of where you'll actually present the information that you have researched and chosen as relevant to your topic. So this section will be approximately 1,500 to 1,600 words if you've chosen to do it as a written report, or 9 minutes if it's orally presented or equivalent in some other form of multimodal presentation. So for example, a video filmed based on coaching experiences or something like that. But if you're not sure about how you might best present your topic, depending on what you've chosen, we can discuss that in class, or you can discuss it with your sports studies teacher. It should demonstrate the knowledge and skills that you've applied, the concepts and ideas that you've considered, and communicate the learning process that you've undertaken as part of your project. So if you were to do it as a written report, or even if you've done it as a presentation or some kind of multimodal format, you should have an introduction which has a brief overview of the topic and specifically the key topic or question that you're trying to answer or address within your report. The body of the outcome is the bulk of the other content. So, you might break it down into, say, 3 or 4 or 5 different sections so that you can look at your topic from multiple perspectives. But this addresses the application 1 performance standards. So evidence of the development of your knowledge and concepts will likely be shown through paragraphs of written information, the use of images, inclusion of graphs, diagrams. Also, surveys are really important to get the perspective of the public or from certain key target audiences. And then also interviews. So if you can try to find somebody who would be worthwhile to interview, who maybe is an expert in the field that you've chosen, that would be ideal as well. Application 2 performance standard is the application of the knowledge, concepts and skills for the purpose of comprehensively displaying your evidence of the topic or answering the question that you've posed in your project topic. Investigation and analysis 1 performance standard is addressed via your in-text referencing throughout the outcome, and also obviously an end text reference list to show your investigation has actually used relevant information, concepts and ideas using a variety of reliable sources. So you need to make sure that you've got a minimum of, say, 10 references that you've used. And, if you choose to use more than that, by all means you can. There's no set maximum number, but you should try to make sure that you're sourcing your information from a variety of sources rather than just 2 or 3. The investigation and analysis 2 performance standard is addressed through your information and argument looking at your topic from different perspectives. So whilst you might be arguing one point predominantly, you need to make sure that you address the other perspectives on your topic as well. Communication and collaboration 2 performance standard is addressed through your effective communication of your ideas and informed opinions through a well-written and structured outcome, which is free from spelling and grammatical mistakes. So this is where the drafting process is really important. If you hand me up an incomplete draft, I'm not going to be able to correct a lot of the spelling and grammar errors that you might have, accidentally included in your draft, which will mean that you'll struggle to get a good grade for this performance standard. So it's really important that you do structure your assignment well, that it's well written or presented if it's a multimodal version of assessment task, and that you have looked through it and read through it a couple of times as well to look for spelling and grammatical mistakes. It might be that you ask somebody else to have a read through it before you give it to your sports studies teacher for drafting. And communication and collaboration 3 performance standard is looking at the discussion and justification of the ideas and opinions that you've presented through the effective use of evidence from primary and secondary sources where possible. So this is making sure that you can actually back up the information that you've presented, and be able to justify it with reliable sources. Finally, you'll have a conclusion for your project outcome, which kind of summarizes the main points that you've made within the body of your outcome, and also try to summarize and bring your final focus or answer back to address the question or the topic that you aimed to deal with when you first started the project. Now, the second part of this assessment task is looking at the connections between program focus, so your topic, your question, whatever you've chosen to address, and the capabilities of our subject. So being personal development and learning. So this section should be 400 to 500 words written, or if you've chosen to do it multimodally or with a presentation, it needs to be about 3 minutes of duration. So this addresses the Understanding 1 performance standard. This section should explain how your project relates to the sports studies program and links to at least one of the capabilities, but again, it can address both of them. So these questions, the first one, what are the benefits of completing an assessment task with such a large scope of choice regarding the topic to investigate and the method of presentation? So this is essentially asking you, why is it good that you were able to choose the way that you investigated the topic, so how you've chosen to do it, and also what the topic is and how you get to present it. So what are the advantages of you being able to have that freedom to complete the task how you choose? That section shouldn't be too long to answer. These next two questions should be quite short in their length of response as well. What made you decide on your chosen topic, and what made you decide on your chosen method of presentation? We want to try to address these questions in as short amount of words as possible. Obviously still making sure that we answer the questions, but the bulk of the word allowance and time allowance for this assessment task section, so the 400 to 500 words, the bulk of that should come from answering these two questions. So how does your topic link with the SACE capabilities of personal development and or learning? So this is really just looking at, with regards to whatever chosen topic you have, how does personal development link with it, or how does learning link with your topic? This question isn't asking you how you developed your personal development and learning. This is about how does your topic in general link to it for anyone. How does it link to personal development and learning? The next question, however, is looking at how has your completion of this topic or of this project, how has you doing the investigation aided in your development or your understanding of what personal development and learning mean. Okay, so you need to make sure here that you're talking about how you've developed your personal development and or your learning, or looking at how you now understand the capabilities by completing this assessment task. Okay, so the conditions of your assessment, so it should be a maximum of say 2,000 words. We can maybe go 10% over that. If you choose to include say appendices or tables and things like that, we have a bit more freedom with the word count, but the bulk of your content needs to be around 2,000 words, or a maximum of 12 minutes if you're presenting orally or the equivalent in a multimodal form. The learning requirements and assessment design criteria, these are the same for every student who completes an integrated learning subject and completes the project, which everyone who does integrated learning has to do. So we didn't get to choose which SACE capability, which performance standards we address here. These are the same for everyone. And this is the performance standard rubric that you'll be graded against. The last part of this again is there's some project planning folio tasks which will go towards your folio for use with assessment in the discussion and folio task. So you need to answer these separately. Discuss and reflect on the ways in which problems and challenges about planning for the project were dealt with, and discuss how you were able to decide on a definitive topic and presentation method. So that's going to be different for everyone. But again, you should be looking to put a minimum of say 100 words per answer. If you choose to go a little bit more than that, that's fine. So again, if you have any questions, by all means ask me, ask your sports studies teacher for help with this. I'm sorry I couldn't be a little bit more specific about addressing each section, But good luck with it, and we'll see how we go.